What is up, my viewers? Spang here, bringing you a viewer-submitted replay from Bowrange or Borange01. I'm not quite sure how to say his name, but he is a previous submitter on my channel, so very glad to see him submitting again. Obviously, this will be a 9.9 replay if you could not tell from the thumbnail, and it is a standard battle on Abby. He is driving his Obj.907, the Clan War reward tank that was given out on the third campaign, I think it was. That sounds about right. And he's gonna pretty much be just showing us how this is done. I remember seeing the post-game kind of rewards. I don't recall what the actual stats were because I don't really look that closely at it. I always want to be as surprised as possible going into a replay. However, you may notice I do seem a little more tired. Yes, this is a sleepy Spang replay. I've had a long, hard day at work. It is, in fact, a guard weekend, and I'm recording this on the road in a hotel room while doing Air National Guard stuff. So, sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. Some of you enjoy my slower commentaries and lower energy ones because, let's face it, I have tons of energy. So to tone it down a little every now and again, not necessarily a bad thing. Right off the bat, we see him taking a somewhat unique approach to coming up this center road. I definitely don't disagree with it. It pretty much eliminates the possibility that you're going to get shot as easily going up. You're going to have a much better idea what the team's going to do. And I mean, by that, I mean the enemy team is going to do. And if they are going for the center, it gives you a flanking option where your allies and you can really easily eliminate. A friendly 1390 getting eliminated rather quickly there. He did get lit on fire. Very unfortunate for him. It looks like Bowrange. I'm just going to call him Bowrange because I like the way that sounds better. If he watches this commentary, he can absolutely correct me on it, and I would encourage him to do so because I've actually never clarified with him in the past. So, definitely let me know, my friend, if you end up seeing this, and I hope you do. But WZ-132, the tier 8 scout tank that we saw, which is the next in line to the 131, which we just saw, Bondar, there we go. A little bit of fatigue, definitely taking its toll. Driving in the previous commentary. Oh, and Bowrange definitely going to engage us. M103. So it is a tier 10 match, but with only 4 tier 10s per team and then a good few number of tier 9s. In fact, the enemy team having an advantage in number of tier 9s. Bowrange getting a solid hit on this M103, who is in a world of hurt. He's getting flanked from the side by a T-54E1, the beloved Echo, as I call it. I absolutely enjoyed that tank when I played it. Good side shots on that T-34, and he's looking like he wants to shoot again if the 34 backs up, or the STI. 34 looking like he would be the one to do so, but the shot goes a little high and does not connect. The enemy team making a very strong push with tank destroyers on the 8 line on that eastern front. The T-110E3 having full rain. It looks like an enemy E100 is on that flank too, so just massive cannons. The friendly T-34 doesn't stand a chance, so Bowrange is really just doing what he can to exert his team's dominance in center and support his team's flank on the western front down the 1-2 line. But the 8 line is all but lost. A Conway sitting back on base, really not being able to do anything at this point in time. He might be able to help out when the enemy team starts pushing on the base from the eastern flank, as they are surely going to be doing very soon. But instead, it looks like he's pushing up into mid to try and maybe encourage his team's advantage there. Bouncing a lucky shell. In fact, it looked like it more got eaten by space armor, but in either case, he didn't take damage from it. And ooh, that one definitely did some damage. Looking like the Amex 30B doing a little bit of hurt on Bowrange here. And the T-54 ally right behind him, not doing too hot on hit points. And the eastern flank has completely fallen. The T-34 holding out for only a little bit longer. The E3 looking like he might have gotten a bit stuck there in doing so, but it looks like Bowrange will get a shot on the E100, who has yet to lose hit points until that moment. And the eastern flank is all but forfeit now. Maybe one more shot? No, the E100 will get away before one more shot for damage is done to him. Bowrange doing a good bit of damage for himself so far, but whether or not his team can pull off a win in this case, the E100 T30, I'm betting the E3 probably going to try and go for a base capture because they have realized their friendly forces on the 1-2 line have all but crumbled. All that remains on that flank is a 113, a Conway and a Yog Panther 2 sitting on base trying to defend. In fact, trying to get closer to the eastern flank, the 1-2, I'm sorry, the 8 line, the 7-8 line, in an attempt to defend, but the convoy is just going to get chewed up. And this T-54 going out in a ballsy move, even with as low of hit points as he had, managing to eliminate a Yogg Panther 2. I'm actually kind of curious how much damage he's done here, but he will die to the convoy. Will Bowrange be able to avenge his ally? We'll see very shortly. And it looks like the scout tank has come back to his base's aid. The 113 all but dead, and Bowrange gets the kill, number 2 for him right there. And a T-49 versus a T-49, I'm assuming that's the battle of the derps, but every now and again you get people who run the T-49 light tank with the standard non-derp cannon, but in that case, I'm not quite sure how he killed him, but it did look like the enemy T-49 decisively killed the friendly one in that case. The convoy sitting back in mid, looking for a more Overwatch protection detail on his base. I don't blame him for that, given the fact he has very little armor, and a T-30 and an E-100 can very easily wreck him. Yet this enemy T-49 is not using the derp cannon, instead opting for the more reliable damage and higher penetration of the standard cannon. I'm not quite sure what that millimeter is, but the IS-7 managing to eliminate him. Bowrange all but out of standard APCR here. Only 2 rounds remaining, then he's going to have to switch to heat, which necessarily isn't a bad thing for his team, as that might be necessary. But at this point in time, the tank lead very comfortable, 11-6. This match is all but over, I would say, unless they gave up a capture. But no, all enemy tanks have fallen back for base defense in a final last stand. I'm not quite sure they're going to have what it takes to make this count, though. It's pretty much all but over right here. Bowrange getting a very good shot off right there, RNG being very much in his favor, and the T-30 going to take another hit. RNG a little less of the factor there, but still kind of something to be considered due to the fact that he was not as aimed in as possible. This E3 coming frontal, but it really is not going to be that big of a deal, because Bowrange obviously knows where to aim, which is on that lower plate and to the left and right of that lower plate, kind of in those corners where the armor is a bit more vulnerable. Getting a penetration shot near that upper cupola, a little rare to see that, but he is firing those heat rounds, so definitely has a bit better chance of penetrating. Getting a ton of damage here near the end. He's only got 2 kills, but I can't even imagine how much damage he has done to this enemy team. We'll see that very shortly in those post-game stats, but this E-100 is getting conversed upon by allied forces. A full health IS-7 deciding to come around the allied corner. I mean, this corner here with allies in tow. This E-100 all but dead, and who will get the final kill? Clearly not the T-54 Model 1 who ricocheted. The IS-7 kind of shot blocking. Bowrange will get the final kill, and that'll wrap up this match. And here we go, clearly seeing him earn high caliber. I can't say that's any surprise, but also earning Confederate. Again, less than surprising given the number of tanks he actually killed, and in perspective, in relation, however you want to say it. Again, fatigue gets the better of me, but you know what I'm saying. In relation to the number of shots he actually fired and the number of tanks he actually hit, I can't say anything but surprising. And over 9,000 damage. It's over 9,000! No, all internet memes aside, the closest competitor on his team just under 3,000 there, and the closest competitor on the enemy team just over 4,000, but it's really no competition at all when it comes right down to it. The enemy E3 managing to block over 2,000 damage with his armor. Very effective use of that, but I can't say, again, speaking of things that aren't very surprising, an E3 managing to absorb a lot of armor, and that E100 also managing to do even more so. Not very surprising things, but those players clearly having a relatively firm grasp of how to play their tanks. That E100 did manage to get himself in a bit of unfortunate circumstances, and perhaps maybe not the best of ideas going down up, I suppose, going with his E3 ally. It really made that flank completely overpowered, and his firepower might have been better served on the 1-2 line on that western front. And who knows, maybe that would have made all the difference, but World of Tanks is always a bunch of what ifs and maybes when it comes to the post-game analysis, because you can never really know. But the T-57 heavy tank on Bowrange's team really not managing to do all that much in terms of damage done. A little disappointing on that front. In the T-34 managing to get 1 shot off for damage out of 4. I'm surprised he managed even to get 4 shots off with the crushing weight of the enemy forces crashing down upon him. It is quite incredible. The T-30 managing to get 2 shots off, but really doing nothing with it. So Bowrange, without a doubt, carrying this team and using up all but 6 shells. I'm thinking, I don't know if he's including HE with that. I wasn't really paying attention to the final shell count there in the end, but clearly running premium going into these this detailed report right here. 39 shots fired, 31 managing to connect, and 30 of those penetrating, giving him a total damage of 9,287 and 2 medals to show for it. Very well deserved. A total distance traveled of just over 2.7 kilometers. So definitely making his run of the map. So securing that center point was really pivotal. I'm making up words here, and allowed him to shoot on that E100 as we saw, allowed him to shoot on the T-34, enemy T-34 on the 1-2 line, and a little bit into the STI, a little bit into the AMX-30B. Definitely preoccupied the enemy team a little bit there and made all the difference. And who knows, maybe if the enemy team had pushed into their base a little bit quicker with a T-30 and E100, they would have been able to make something happen. But I don't really think it was ever an option, not when this man was sitting in the center overwatch position and would have been able to just rain fire on them regardless. So distance of over 300 meters, damage done. I know that's an odd way of saying it. Again, I blame the tiredness and all, but no excuse, I suppose. A little bit of sniping going on. I guess that is really the point I am trying to make, and a little bit of damage blocked by armor, but not all that much, and I can't say that's unexpected. And something as fragile as the 907, its armor can be a bit troll at times, but it is anything but reliable, I suppose, is the best way to say it. However, that's about gonna wrap it up for this video, so thank you ever so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider hitting that like button. Helps me out. If you want to see more, definitely subscribe. If you got something you want to share or suggest in relation to my videos or channel, let me know in the comment section below. And if you got a replay you think I should do a commentary on, well, the description has instructions on how to submit. And until next time, this has been Spang, and clearly I am just oh so professional and tired. Very tired.
MLG Dynamo.